Why do you keep choosing the wrong person? Why does intimacy feel terrifying? Why do you sabotage every good relationship that comes your way? Here's the uncomfortable truth. The answer isn't in your dating app profile or your communication skills. It's buried in your childhood, in moments you might not even remember. Imagine this. You're 35 years old, successful, attractive, intelligent. But every relationship follows the same painful pattern. You attract emotionally unavailable partners. Or maybe you're the one who runs when things get too close. You've read the books, done the therapy exercises, but nothing changes. Sound familiar? In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how childhood trauma creates invisible blueprints that control your adult relationships. More importantly, I'll reveal the specific attachment patterns you developed as a child and how they're sabotaging your love life right now. By the end of this video, you'll understand why you do what you do in relationships and what you can actually do to break free from these patterns. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share changed everything I thought I knew about love and connection. Let's start with a story that revolutionized psychology. In the 1950s, a British psychologist named John Bowlby noticed something disturbing. Children separated from their mothers during World War II developed severe emotional problems, even when they were physically well cared for. This led him to a groundbreaking discovery. We're literally wired for connection from birth. Here's what Bowlby discovered. Your brain doesn't just need food and shelter to develop properly. It needs consistent emotional connection. Between birth and age 3, your brain is forming crucial neural pathways based on one question. Can I trust others to be there for me? Think of it like this. Your infant brain is running experiments. When you cry, does someone come? When you're scared, do you find comfort? When you reach out, are you met with warmth or rejection? The answers to these questions don't just fade away. They become hardwired into your nervous system. They become your attachment style, your unconscious template for all future relationships. Later, psychologist Mary Ainsworth conducted the famous strange situation experiment. She observed how toddlers reacted when their mothers left the room and then returned. What she found was revolutionary. Children fell into distinct patterns based on their early experiences. And here's the crucial part. These patterns don't disappear when you grow up. That toddler who panicked when mom left, they might become the adult who texts 47 times when their partner doesn't respond. The toddler who didn't even look up when mom returned, they might become the adult who ghosts people the moment things get real. Your childhood attachment style is the invisible force shaping every romantic relationship you'll ever have. Now let's break down the 4 attachment styles. As I describe each one, I want you to honestly ask yourself, which one sounds most like me? Secure attachment, the healthy blueprint. Let's start with the goal. Securely attached children had caregivers who were consistently responsive, warm, and attuned. When they cried, someone came. When they were scared, they found comfort. When they explored the world, they knew they had a safe base to return to. As adults, these people are comfortable with intimacy and independence. They can communicate their needs directly. They don't panic when their partner needs space, and they don't feel suffocated by closeness. They make up about 50 to 60% of the population. If you're thinking that doesn't sound like me, keep watching. You're not alone. Anxious, preoccupied attachment, the fear of abandonment. These children had inconsistent caregivers. Sometimes mom was loving and present. Other times, she was distracted, overwhelmed, or emotionally unavailable. The child never knew which version they'd get, so they learned to become hypervigilant, constantly scanning for signs of rejection. As adults, anxiously attached people crave intimacy but are terrified of abandonment. They might need constant reassurance they're loved, interpret small actions as signs their partner is losing interest, feel anxious when they haven't heard from their partner, sacrifice their own needs to keep the relationship stable, experience intense jealousy or possessiveness. They're not being crazy or needy. Their nervous system is genuinely detecting danger based on childhood programming that taught them. Love is unpredictable. Hold on tight or you'll lose it. Avoidant dismissive attachment, the fear of intimacy. These children learned that emotional needs wouldn't be met. Maybe their caregivers were cold, critical, or emotionally absent. Crying didn't bring comfort. It might have even brought punishment or ridicule. So the child learned, I'm on my own. Needing others is dangerous. I must be self-sufficient. As adults, avoidantly attached people value independence above all else. They might feel uncomfortable with too much closeness or emotional expression, suppress their own feelings and needs, withdraw when conflict arises, rationalize why they don't need deep relationships, choose partners who won't demand emotional intimacy, leave relationships when they start feeling too serious. They're not cold or unfeeling. Deep down, they're terrified that if they depend on someone, they'll be hurt or rejected like they were as children. Disorganized attachment, the impossible bind. This is the most challenging pattern, typically arising from severe trauma, abuse, or having a caregiver who is both the source of fear and the only source of comfort. The child's brain faces an impossible contradiction. I need you to survive, but you're the one hurting me. As adults, these individuals might desperately want intimacy while simultaneously fearing it, have unpredictable emotional responses, struggle with emotional regulation, experience intense relationships filled with drama, have difficulty trusting even when someone proves trustworthy, swing between anxious and avoidant behaviors. This represents about 5 to 10% of the population, but it's often the most painful experience because there's no consistent strategy that feels safe. So which one resonated with you? Be honest. There's no shame in any of these. They were survival strategies you developed as a child with a developing brain trying to navigate your specific environment. Now let's dive deeper. How exactly does childhood trauma create these relationship patterns? It all comes down to your developing brain. From birth to age 3, your brain is in its most formative period. You're not forming conscious memories yet, but you're forming something much more powerful. Implicit memories stored in your nervous system. Think of it like learning to ride a bike. You don't remember the exact moment you learned to balance, but your body knows how to do it automatically. Attachment works the same way. When your needs were consistently met, your brain learned, the world is safe. People are trustworthy. I am worthy of love. These neural pathways become your operating system. But when your needs went unmet, when you experienced neglect, inconsistency, or abuse, different pathways formed. Let me give you specific examples of childhood experiences and their adult consequences. The emotionally absent parent, your mom was physically there, but emotionally checked out, maybe dealing with depression, addiction, or her own trauma. You learned to suppress your needs because expressing them got no response. Adult pattern, you become avoidant. You pride yourself on not needing anyone. You choose careers over relationships. You feel claustrophobic when partners want more emotional intimacy. You might even feel contempt for people you perceive as needy. The unpredictable parent, your dad, was loving on good days, but rageful or withdrawn on bad days. You became hypervigilant, constantly reading his mood to stay safe. You learned that love is conditional and dangerous. Adult pattern, you become anxiously attached. You're constantly analyzing your partner's texts for hidden meanings. You need frequent reassurance. You might unconsciously create drama to test if they'll stay. You feel most alive in the chaos because that's what your nervous system recognizes as normal. The intrusive or enmeshed parent, your mother treated you as her emotional support, sharing adult problems, needing you to manage her feelings. Your boundaries were violated, and your developing identity was suppressed. Adult pattern, you struggle to know where you end and your partner begins. You might attract narcissistic partners who replicate this dynamic. You have difficulty saying no. You feel responsible for your partner's emotions. The critical or rejecting parent, nothing you did was good enough. You were shamed, criticized, or compared unfavorably to others. You learned, there's something fundamentally wrong with me. Adult pattern, you choose partners who reinforce this belief. People who are critical, unavailable, or emotionally abusive. It feels familiar. Meanwhile, when someone healthy shows interest, They feel boring, where you feel like you're deceiving them because they don't know the real unworthy you. Here's the painful irony. As adults, we unconsciously recreate our childhood wounds in our romantic relationships. Psychologists call this repetition compulsion, the unconscious drive to relive unresolved trauma, hoping this time we'll get it right. The anxiously attached person chooses the avoidant partner, recreating the unavailable parent. The avoidant person feels suffocated by the anxious partner, recreating the intrusive parent. We're all trying to heal our childhood wounds by casting our partners in familiar roles. But here's the hope. Once you see the pattern, you can change it. Let's get practical. I want to help you recognize these patterns in your actual relationships. Awareness is the first step to change. Signs you're anxiously attached in relationships. You obsessively check if your partner has read your messages. When they take longer than usual to respond, your mind immediately goes to worst-case scenarios. They're losing interest. They found someone else. I said something wrong. You feel incomplete without a relationship. Being single doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like something essential is missing. You're quick to commit, sometimes too quick. You might say, I love you, first, want to define the relationship early, or start planning the future before your partner is ready. You have difficulty setting boundaries because you're terrified that asking for what you need will push them away. So you tolerate behavior that hurts you, hoping that if you're accommodating enough, they'll stay. After arguments, you're the one desperately trying to reconnect and repair. The disconnect feels unbearable, like a physical pain in your chest. Signs you're avoidantly attached in relationships. You're attracted to people at a distance, but lose interest once they become too available or emotionally demanding. The chase is exciting. The relationship feels suffocating. You emphasize your independence and feel proud of not needing anyone. You might say things like, I'm perfectly happy alone, or I don't believe in codependency. When conflict arises or your partner expresses hurt feelings, your instinct is to shut down, withdraw, or intellectualize rather than engage emotionally. You keep secrets or maintain parts of your life entirely separate from your partner. Full transparency feels vulnerable and dangerous. You notice a pattern of your partners complaining that you're emotionally unavailable, distant, or that they don't really know you, and you might feel confused or defensive about this because you believe you're being perfectly reasonable. You've been called cold or told you don't let people in, and while it bothers you, you also don't know how to be different. Signs you're disorganized in relationships. Your feelings about your partner swing dramatically. One day, they're perfect. The next day, you can't stand them. This isn't about their behavior changing. It's about your perception shifting wildly. You simultaneously crave and fear intimacy. You might pursue someone intensely, then panic when they reciprocate and suddenly need space. You have explosive reactions that feel out of proportion to the situation. A small comment triggers intense rage, panic, or emotional shutdown. Your relationships are characterized by high drama, intense passion followed by intense conflict, breakups and reconciliations, extreme highs and devastating lows. You struggle to trust even when your partner has done nothing to break your trust. Past betrayals color everything, making it impossible to give anyone a fair chance. Now here's what I want you to do. Don't judge yourself for recognizing these patterns. These were adaptive strategies. Your child self did what they needed to survive emotionally. The fact that you're watching this video and gaining awareness means you're already on the path to healing. The question isn't, what's wrong with me? The question is, what happened to me, and how can I heal it? So how do you actually change these deeply ingrained patterns? I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It's hard work, but it's absolutely possible. Step 1. Radical self-awareness. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. Start noticing your patterns without judgment. When you feel anxious because your partner hasn't texted back, pause. Say to yourself, this is my attachment system activating. This isn't necessarily reality. It's my childhood programming. When you feel the urge to withdraw because your partner wants to talk about feelings, notice it. This is my avoidant pattern. My nervous system is perceiving danger when there might not be any. Keep a relationship journal after interactions that trigger strong emotions, right? What happened? What did I feel? What did I do? Does this remind me of anything from childhood? Step 2. Find secure relationships to rewire your brain. Here's the good news. Your attachment style isn't permanent. Your brain has neuroplasticity. It can form new neural pathways throughout your life. The most powerful way to heal insecure attachment is through what's called earned secure attachment, forming relationships with securely attached people who can provide the consistency and attunement you missed in childhood. This might be a therapist, a mentor, a friend, or eventually a romantic partner. The key is consistent, safe relationships where you can practice new ways of relating. If you're anxiously attached, you need to experience that someone won't abandon you when you have needs, and that you're lovable even when you're not trying to earn love. If you're avoidantly attached, you need to experience that vulnerability doesn't lead to rejection or engulfment, and that intimacy can feel safe and even nourishing. Step 3. Choose partners consciously, not compulsively. Stop letting your unconscious choose your partners. Your wounded child self will always be attracted to what's familiar, even if it's painful. If you're anxiously attached, you're probably drawn to avoidant partners because they recreate the unpredictable love you knew as a child. It feels like chemistry or passion, but it's actually your nervous system recognizing familiar danger. If you're avoidant, you might choose anxiously attached partners who eventually prove your belief that people are too demanding, or you might choose other avoidance, creating relationships that are emotionally distant but feel safe. Instead, consciously choose relationships that feel different. Secure people might feel boring at first because there's no drama, no chase, no anxiety. Your nervous system might not recognize it as love because it doesn't hurt. But that's exactly the point. Step 4. Do the inner child work. This might sound new age, but it's neuroscience. Those childhood wounds are stored in the emotional, pre-verbal parts of your brain. Talk therapy alone often isn't enough. You need to access those wounded parts of yourself with compassion. Visualize your child self in moments of pain or neglect. What did that child need? What would you say to them now? Give yourself what you didn't receive. If you needed someone to validate your emotions, practice validating your own feelings. If you needed consistent presence, create consistency in your own life. If you needed to feel safe to express needs, practice asking for what you need in low-stakes situations. Step 5. Consider professional help. Therapies specifically designed for attachment trauma can accelerate healing. EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, helps reprocess traumatic memories. Somatic therapy addresses trauma stored in the body. Schema therapy specifically targets childhood patterns. Attachment-based therapy works directly with your relational templates. You don't have to do this alone. In fact, healing attachment wounds specifically requires relational experiences. Trying to heal in isolation reinforces avoidant patterns. Step 6. Practice self-compassion. You will slip back into old patterns. You will choose the wrong person again. You will react from your wounded place. This is normal. Healing isn't linear. Every time you catch yourself, every time you choose differently, every time you sit with discomfort instead of running to familiar patterns, you're rewiring your brain. Be patient with yourself. That child self who developed these strategies was doing their best to survive. Honor that, and know that as an adult, you now have choices you didn't have then. Let's bring this all together. Your childhood didn't just shape your personality. It created the lens through which you see all relationships. The way your caregivers responded to you became your blueprint for intimacy, trust, and love. If you're anxiously attached, you're not clingy or needy. You're carrying the wound of inconsistent love, and your nervous system is still looking for the stability it never found. If you're avoidantly attached, you're not cold or incapable of love. You're protecting yourself from the pain of vulnerability that once led to rejection or overwhelming engulfment. If you're disorganized, you're not broken. You survived impossible circumstances, and your system developed contradictory strategies to cope with an environment where safety and danger came from the same source. And if you're securely attached, you are fortunate to receive what every child deserves: but your journey includes maintaining that security and potentially helping others heal. Here's what I want you to remember. Awareness is power. Understanding your attachment style doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it explains it. An explanation is the first step toward change. You're not doomed to repeat your childhood patterns. Your brain can change. Your relationships can heal. But it requires courage. The courage to see yourself clearly, to choose differently than your programming dictates, and to build the secure attachment you deserved from the beginning. The relationships you've always wanted are possible. But first, you have to reparent yourself. You have to become the consistent, attuned presence for yourself that you needed as a child. If this video resonated with you, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. I create videos like this every week, diving deep into the psychology that shapes our lives. Drop a comment telling me which attachment style you recognized in yourself. There's power in naming these patterns, and I read every comment. Let's build a community of people committed to healing and breaking generational patterns. And if you found this valuable, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Chances are, someone in your life is struggling with these exact patterns and doesn't understand why.